going. This is the Old Lyme Halls Road Improvements Committee regular meeting on November 12th, 2020 at 7:07. We have Howard Margulies, myself, Edie Twining, Matt Merritt, Ray Thompson, and Brian Farnham. I don't know you, but welcome. And we're called to order. And I'm wondering if we can have a motion to approve the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read those?
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Okay. A second?
I'll second them.
Okay. So the first piece I wanted to introduce was the BSC schedule. I'm gonna see if I can share this. If I can get it up here. I don't think I'm savvy enough to do this today, but anyway, we have a schedule and I will describe it to you guys. And also I just want to let you know up to date where we are with them. I did speak with Michael Cushman yesterday, and he basically explained their schedule is running from now, November, into the middle to end of April. Phase 1 will take place in the preparation stage up into the end of December. And then phase 2 will go from January through March. And phase 3, which is implementation, will start mid-March and run into April. So that's their projected view of this. He did explain to me that they are moving forward with their base plan mapping, which includes taking the drawings that they have gotten from us that were the Yale improvements, the Yale, what's that guy called? Anyway, the Yale workshop drawings that we had originally, the nice CAD drawings, and they start with that, and they also will look at all the other existing drawings, aerial photos, make sure all the contours are recognized. And then they're going to come to Old Lyme aiming for the next Thursday to come and do actual measured drawings for pieces that are not confirmed, so they can make sure they understand where all the curb cuts are, that kind of stuff. Which in other words means they're making sure that they've got their base plan correct and laid out. They have also started to outreach to ConDOT and the utilities. He said they're slow to respond, probably a week or two before they hear back from them, but they have made the initial inroads to start talking with different utilities and the CTDOT. And he's also started reaching out to learn more about whatever wetlands constraints they have to work with. So they're getting the base plan set up with the constraints so that they can start looking at what they need to do for phase 1 and get the prep going. And they're also working with their market strategy survey person, Maura, to make sure that she's beginning that process as well, working with a lot of the work from CT Advance. She's using a lot of that information as well, which is really helpful. Gets them going a little ahead of time for that. And that's basically the report I have. I will be talking with Michael every other week and plan to make it set up so that I have something to report back to the committee on the Thursdays on the monthly basis. And then when we have actual material to present to the committee, they will come on to a Zoom meeting with us and share information that they have to present to us. So I think that kind of gives us the outline of what we're aiming for with the BSC and how we're going to get those things done. Does anyone have questions, or hopefully I can answer them?
Edie, I think it's great that we get these updates through you about BSC. I know the 3 phases that have been proposed with regards to a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it would make sense for the first part of these meetings, even though they're not open meetings, they're committee meetings, for a representative from BSC to spend 10 minutes or 5 or 10 minutes and maybe give a little more detail about what they're doing within each phase.
Okay. So your question is, should we have them joining us for our monthly meeting? Is that what
Yeah,
you're asking?
maybe
Okay.
we give them a set 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of each meeting.
Okay. I think that's a great idea.
I think if we and then if the committee members have questions, at least we don't have to relay them through you and then to them. And
Sure.
you
know. And also, they're planning already to be coming to the December meeting.
Okay.
Just so you know, I don't think they had a whole lot to report currently, but that's all right. I mean, I think it's fair enough to ask that they could join our meetings, and I'll run that by them as well. And yeah, I think I will also send this project schedule around to the group, and we'll go from there too. So, any other thoughts, guys? That's definitely a good question, Matt. I think it's important. Okay. So moving on to item 4 is the review of members in the committee and what roles each member would like to take on in the coming months. So this is a piece that's been batted to the back of the list for like 3 different meetings worth of time. And the basic idea is, I know that like Ray has taken on responsibility to help with any of the rezoning questions and trying to get a committee going on that. But I think until we have the master plan in place, or at least further underway, there's not much that Ray and a group could be doing. But there's other things that we want to make sure we're paying attention to. We did not hire the BSC to do a whole outreach piece, mainly to make sure we kept our numbers low. And that's something that I think the committee might need to take on some responsibility for. In the past, we've actually gone out, different members of the committee have gone out and talked with the various stakeholders, mainly business owners along Holes Road. One group that comes to mind is the Graybill family, that they own a lot of the land on the north side of Lieutenant River. And that's something that we probably want to make sure we have a conversation with them. And then also, other stakeholders that aren't necessarily on Halls Road, but might want to weigh in. I know the Kitchings at Old Lime Inn and Bowerbird might be good people to speak with. And I'm sure you guys all know that the Roger Tory Peterson Estuary Center just took on the Bee and Thistle. So that's another group we might want to talk with. Mainly just to get some buy-in into these questions of rezoning, the questions of how the property will be affected with the initial sidewalk work. And I think, that's something that as a committee, it'll help us have a better sense of who we're talking with and how we're going to get to these places down the road. So we probably need a backup person to be taking minutes in a very simplistic, what members of the committees can do. And then any other, the outreach piece, I think, is something we might all want to contribute to, but do you guys have any suggestions or ideas about this?
Me, I guess just thinking out loud, there's a couple of ways to go. we've given businesses and property owners a number of opportunities, but it seems to me we haven't had them participate maybe like we would have liked. They really, I don't think they came out to in the open houses. There were a couple, but I think very few. And there are a significant number of businesses, not only directly on Halls Road, but adjacent to it in the neighborhood. So, and we could do a couple of things. We could, actually invite that group of property holders and businesses to cover our bases, because in the past, some of the critics of the project have said, "Oh, you haven't talked to the businesses." When we've made numerous efforts to do that, but I don't think we've ever sat down with them as a group, and that may be worthwhile. Or, that's one way of doing it. Or you could, at some point when we think it makes sense, just hold a sort of a public meeting to update people where we are, and then make sure we again invite everybody and give them opportunities. So a couple of ways to go, but it just seems that's, if I were going to describe a missing piece to the whole outreach efforts, we've never really sat down in a dialogue in one room with the businesses or the property owners, and that might be worthwhile. So that's just my off the cuff thoughts on the issue.
Okay.
I think following on that, those people are, they're busy at the retail end, every day of the week, when some of us are not. And we might just invite them also to tune in on certain of our meetings if we structure it in such a way that it's of some interest to them. They might be more willing to join for, as Matt said, a defined period, not the whole meeting, not an hour and a half, but some defined period, and we might get a little better show up than trying to physically gather them.
Let's talk about what is it we're telling these guys or asking these guys, because I think that's the other question. I think the open house, the beauty of the open house was that it was small one-on-one groups, and you could actually engage in a real conversation with different people individually. I worry, the two times when we had big town meetings, we got all the naysayers and very few people that were involved in being pro for this stuff. And I really don't want to recreate that situation. I do think that it's respectful to go and talk with all the different stakeholders. And maybe it's, when we did that the first time, when I was with this committee in the beginning, we had some FAQs and I'm not sure whether we had drawings or not, but I'm curious, what's the timing on this? When do we want to do this? Is there a crucial sort of point in time when we actually have something new to say? I don't really want to go out and start knocking on doors with nothing else to talk about other than what we've done in the past. So where do we find that answer?
I mean, there's two parts to it, really. I mean, it's yes, and I certainly agree with that, and that's why I was kind of in the same boat, saying, "Gee, we want a meeting at some point where there is something more tangible to report than where we are now." We think, hopefully that's been public, and it's surprising. I don't think people are really with the virus and everything else going on. we're not getting the feedback. The EDC is, we put out a couple of things and we didn't get any feedback. The Halls Road article in the Examiner didn't get any either. So, which is unusual, because usually we get, a half a dozen people weighing in on these projects. So I don't think people are focused right now on that.
Yeah. Well, the
Um,
election certainly
right.
was in
There's-
the way.
I was just going to finish one second. There's two pieces. There's us giving them information, and then, again, like I said, we haven't had a real dialogue getting feedback from them on, what do they anticipate seeing, what would be beneficial to them, what would not, so it's both ways. It's us giving them information, but also listening to them as to their input. So
That's a good
I agree. There's nothing very clear to me that say do this versus that. There's a couple of options that may work. All of them could work or they could not work. They were the ones we mentioned already.
I agree with you. I think the timing is, I think, critical with regards to community reach out, and just my experience in some of the other projects that I've been involved in. It's sort of a slippery slope when we go out without clear, defined lateral boundaries of what we're actually encompassing and what a wish list.
Yeah.
You go out and ask, what would you like to see? Before you know it, we've got escalators and slides.
Right.
With a clear set of boundaries and a budget in mind, I think that's a safe and a prudent path to take for our community outreach, if you will, with these. But otherwise, it's like putting up a suggestion box in your business. At the end of the week, you open it, you're like, oh my God, they want a swimming pool in the backyard.
Right. Yeah.
All sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I think that community outreach is important. I think it's just as important to make sure our ducks are in a line and we have a clear, defined project with regards to the scope and budget.
Yeah.
And I think feedback about, rezoning to be mixed use is going to be useful, but I think that's a little early for that so far.
Yeah.
But I do think that, the Gray Bills, for instance, those guys own the whole area where the Morning Glory used to be. And I know that he was originally a member of this committee. And I feel like that's one of those missing pieces. I never spoke with him. It will be very key because he's offering to allow the town to use that end of the bulkhead where the old bridge abutment was. And that's kind of important, and also the Art Association, if we need to put a sidewalk along there, we need to make sure that they can embrace that idea. And I know they've been asking for a long time for that creek to be brought under control because of flooding. So, those are some pieces that might be just a one-on-one kind of conversation if we can figure out who knows who.
I've actually, not recently, but when we had the SWATs, I visited them and asked that they, make sure that they participated, which they did. They sent one of the family members to the SWAT, and I did talk to Jeff, and I would also say they might be a little bit gun shy from the fallout on the property that they owned that was being considered for affordable housing. So they're a little sensitive about that probably, but I think they're certainly, we should be communicating. I'm just wondering, when we look for the trigger for this, is it, do you think at the end of phase one, does that give us enough meat to communicate with however we're going to do that? Or is that not meet enough yet.
I think we still need to be further down, like more like
Okay.
February, possibly, when the master plan has begun to take shape. I think at that point, we might have a little more feedback from the DOT, which is
Yeah.
key to this whole picture. And then also the utilities and the wetlands. Those pieces are important to make sure we know our boundaries. But then, yeah, then I think we can actually reach out to some of these folks and I don't think the idea of canvassing door to door to the different businesses is a bad idea. I think there's unfortunately, there's only a few properties that are owned by larger groups of people, but or single people. But I think when we went around, I learned a lot when I went around on Halls Road and talked with different businesses and even just learned what's upstairs in all those spaces at the Hideaway section of town.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, eye vision people and physical therapy and all sorts of stuff up there. So that, that I think is helpful. To
Plus that whole area in back of the Dunkin' Donut, that
yeah.
those are, they're stakeholders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
that sounds, when you think about it too, right now with this virus raging again, I mean, trying to put something together is maybe as you say, we're going to have more to say in February, and maybe we'll, be on the downside of the virus, and people will be more willing to participate a little bit in some of these.
that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Howard. I think, asking people to come out in the middle of, like, as you say, these numbers escalating and participating. People are squirrely enough these days, right?
Right. I mean, you could do it on Zoom, but it's just not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think also we really noticed when we did the open houses that being able to, there were all of us from the committee were at those open houses so that we could engage people individually or small groups of people to really listen to what they had to say. And I think that's much more valuable than having, a lot of naysayers shooting down information at you.
Yeah.
It's not really very productive way to have a meeting. So
Well, maybe have another open house, that use that same format in February or March, and have a couple of them, and and do that same. I mean, you're right. That was pretty effective. And maybe we just kind of use that format again, and go with that.
Yeah. And do you know Jeff Graybill, or what's your?
Yeah. I mean, I think I know Jeff and Dan, and and
so they're the younger two, and
they take my money a lot. But yeah, their father was on. I think he was the one on the committee originally.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is he Jeff as well?
Yeah, I know Jeff. I can talk.
No, he's Jim.
Jim.
It's Jim, isn't it?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Isn't the father Jim?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Jim was on, and I can. Maybe I could contact them, and they can decide who they want to participate, and we can at least have maybe a conference call with them so that you're on, Edie, too. We can a couple of people, whoever else wants to be on, but I think you should be on. You know more now about the nitty gritty than I do, and you can answer questions. So maybe I can try to arrange that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're talking about springtime for that as well, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you want to wait, or do you want to talk to them now?
I think after Christmas would be
Okay.
worth it, because I think people are still, trying to figure out what's going to happen politically in this part of the world, and
Yeah.
people are still pretty focused on that. But
About the kitchens too,
yeah, they too are. I mean, I know Chris, but she's difficult to find time with, I'll say. I mean, she's a really nice person. And she recognizes me, and I really enjoy talking with her when I get a chance to. But she's often very busy,
Yeah.
So, and I know they've got, who knows what's going to happen now that the bee and thistle's changing. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Kitchings are a big force in this town and important
Yeah.
to include in our list. I have talked with Becky at the Flow Grizz, and she's very supportive, but doesn't really know what she's supposed to do. Neither do I. But but I think important to just keep the conversation open between people so that we all know who's who. And I think that's been some of the recommendations from the zoning group too, to go out to the main parties in town and get them on board with this. So
I'm met, as you know, Edie, with the arts community because the EDC is considering a project to promote the arts in a more organized manner and than the town has in the past, and try to commit some resources to it. So I had a meeting with them. One of the messages I gave is they should be very supportive of the Halls Road project because they're going to be tremendous beneficiaries of the results of this. And having the walkability and the connectivity between Halls Road and Lime Street and their whole arts district. And I would hope at some point when we need them, we don't need them right now, but if we do need them, that they be more vocal in their support, because they're really going to be a prime beneficiary of this project.
I mean, another thing that I noticed every time I drive down Halls Road, the 2 years ago when we cleaned out the little parkland next to the
Right.
Lieutenant River, I look at that and I'm like, gosh, it hasn't been mowed. It's gonna just fill up with trash and vines again. And oh boy, could we do something that would be a little, I mean, that might be the kind of outreach that people would be willing to do. It'd be outdoors. It would be, care about our community,
Right.
do some cleanup here. And that was actually quite a positive thing when we all went out there and tackled that stuff.
We had a lot of people participate.
Yeah.
That was
So that might
all the
be
dead
something.
bodies we removed and everything.
I mean, that might be something we might want to do. I think we need to get Tim to buy into the idea of letting that happen and having the public works guys pick up the debris for us. I think if we have a mild winter, it won't be a big deal for them to have that to deal with. If there's a lot of snow plowing, forget it. But, so maybe we should distribute the idea. I mean, I think even Bud Kennedy came out for that, and he was great. And we had old and young together, and really, we filled 18 garbage bags full of trash, and
Right.
and it still looks pretty good. We never really finished all the way down to the river, but I think a couple of weed whackers and clippers, we could make a dent again and keep it clean. And that way, when we do get to the sidewalks, it'll be something worth looking at. So, maybe we should do that. We'll send around an idea of maybe doing a new cleanup committee over there, and I'll see if I can get Tim to embrace that idea. So does anyone have any other business that they want to discuss with this, or? I know this is not been a very...
Edie, I have a question about Lime Art Academy. I was speaking to one of the board members who's a neighbor down here, and she was very enthusiastic. The Halls Road project.
Mhm.
But I guess they are formulating on the getting back to being a
Yeah, yeah. The Foundation Art
it
School.
is, but
Yeah.
it's not a group, but it's you know, an art
Mhm.
of what do you? It's a anyway.
We
University. So she was enthusiastic,
but
What's
thought
your
they'd made
question, Ray?
progress, and I don't know who we.
I've actually, Ray,
Well,
is
my question with them, any of us, BJ used to be the kind of them. No,
yeah, Ray. It's interesting. We just the EDC just had at our last meeting last week a presentation by the new chair on their new direction, and we're actually working with them on two potential projects. One is the one I mentioned about they would be part of the group that we would be designing some uh, efforts to support the arts community, and they would be part of that. And the second is because of the out of the pandemic, one of the things we've identified is that people will be working more from home. A lot more people will be doing that. Plus, Old Lyme has a very large cottage industry, and possibly having some kind of resource center for businesses, something on the WeWorks kind of model where people could, have a small office, small studio, conference room, meet clients, have some tech support. If, for people working out of their home, either in the arts or businesses. So we have this dialogue going on with them, and they are interested in those things.
Yeah, they have a new director, Ray, and we're losing you, Ray. Can you guys hear Ray?
I can't hear Ray.
No,
go ahead.
he
Ray, we
might be
can't hear
muted.
you. No, he's not muted. There you go. You're
Yeah,
good
Ray's
now.
muted.
No, now he's muted, but now he's not.
Oh, it's me that's can you still hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Now we can hear you.
You're in and out, I think.
Now you're out.
We lost.
Oh, that's okay.
We're only getting a little sound bite.
Ray, were you ever to hear me? Shake your head, yes or no. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you do kick out once in a
Uh,
while.
yeah. Okay. It's, well, I think this must be a sign.
Right.
I think we're getting to the end of our meeting,
Yeah.
perhaps. I do know that the Art Academy is trying to rise from the ashes of being an accredited college. They are not going to be offering any kind of degrees. Their plan is to have, students, maybe 20 students a year, with a total of 60, and it would be a $7,000 a semester fee as opposed to 40 something. Um, and they want to embrace all age groups. I have to say, having gone off to Boston Museum School, the stodgy drawing from plaster casts to me seems like a bad idea, but that's another conversation. So I do think that they are trying to engage in the community and get to know everybody and kind of help dispel a lot of the attitude about that place. And, I think one of the best things they might do is invite the community in to have a tour of the building. I've never been anywhere other than a few places in that school, and I think it's a great idea. So hopefully they'll get there. So, anybody else? It's funny. I keep seeing Matt, you're speaking, but maybe you're not.
Well, am I on mute? No, I don't think I'm on mute.
No, but there's something that says speaking Matt Merritt, and then I look over and your voice is not moving.
Oh,
Anyway, I think we've probably come to the end of this. I'm going to send around a idea of maybe doing a little park cleanup, maybe in the next few weeks. I don't know if it's too soon before Christmas. We could forget it and do it in January when everyone's really bored. But I think it might be a nice idea to show some activity over there and keep it
Yeah.
looking decent. And we'll get some minutes distributed from today's conversation. And I think it's great that we all agree that probably waiting till February would be good in terms of any serious outreach. I think, Howard, if you want to talk with those guys at the Graybill family before then, I think that's fine, just to kind of feel them out. But other than that, I think there's not a lot we can do until we get this master plan really underway and up to speed. But we will plan to hear from the BSC in December when we talk again.
and that, just to confirm, that would be December 14th?
Yes, I think so.
I'm sorry, December 10th?
December 10th. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Okay, I will do that. 7:43.
Okay.
Seconded?
Adjourn.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad we had a
Alrighty.
short meeting for a change.
Thank you for hosting again.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Okay,
Take care. All
be
right.
well.
All right. Bye-bye. You too.
Bye.